Impact Wrestling, a short time removed from Bound for Glory and 9 nights away from Turning Point, the first Impact Plus show after the Bound for Glory. And this is the first week after their first show leading from Bound for Glory. Now, before I get started, I want to say this. This was an interesting show. And I'm sure many people are going to say this was awesome. This was great. I'm telling you this as an honest reviewer. Unlike any of those smos out there. Not taking anything away from me. I know there are people who do Impact Wrestling reviews and they're better than me. Or they're just as good as me. Or maybe less than me. I'm going to tell you the truth. We are dealing with a new era where there's going to be teething problems, where we still don't know the direction that this company is going since they finally finished with AEW. Now, they're still working supposedly with New Japan Pro Wrestling, I believe. But we still don't know. We have no idea what the direction is. And yes, the shows have been interesting. These episodes have been interesting since they're still in Las Vegas. But does not mean we know if these shows are going to be better long term. I say wait and see, but there's going to be people who say they're excited about this, and I understand. I understand your excitement. There are new stuff that's going on because compared to what was going on before, which was boring. But I'm telling you, even with new stuff, be wary. Take it with a grain of salt, guys. I'm not going to tell you that this is great. I'm not going to tell you this is bad. I'm just going to give you my best opinion on what we got so far the second week after Bound for Glory. It's under a month. We got a lot of stuff to unpack for the next couple of months. Now, number one contenders match for the Impact Tag titles. That is FinJuice versus the Bullet Club. Now, I know these teams are good. They work together in some form or fashion. One has faced another guy's faced another guy. There's been no problem with it. I have enjoyed their work in the ring. Hikuleo outside, and I think I finally got his name correctly, Hikuleo looked menacing. I gotta say this, I like El Phantasmo. Particularly at one point during the match, I believe I got the shot. El Phantasmo go and grabs Juice Robinson's nipples. What the fuck is that? I saw that and I just started laughing my ass off. I'm going, what the fuck are you doing, man? Are you that crazy or are you that thirsty that you need some nipples to grab? Aren't there some women on the strip, my friend? You don't need to grab a man's nipples like that. What the fuck? But it was a good match. But I was not surprised in the outcome. I felt when I saw how Chris Bay, look, you can say a lot about Chris. Me personally, I still think he's one of the most underutilized wrestlers they currently have. He's very charismatic. He's a good high flyer. He can do some groundwork. He's not really a big component of technical wrestling. Doesn't mean he can't do it. He just never focuses generally on it. He's very explosive. He's very high flying and very charismatic, and he can talk his ass off. Man got a lot of attributes that will make him a 5 or 4 tool wrestler that many companies could build themselves around. Honestly, you could. Yes, he's not a big guy, but as we've seen, sometimes you don't need a big guy to actually get over and get the people to be behind him and move the merch and get their asses in the seats. In the end, what do we get? We get the Bullet Club winning, and then we get the obligatory, well, let's put it like this. Once you've seen Doc Gallows facing down to Hikuleo and Hikuleo saying that I'm the true Bullet Club, you wonder, wouldn't it have been really interesting to see several weeks of build-up for Bullet Club versus the Good Brothers? Why do we have to have 9 nights before it's over when they've never really interacted much? Yes, FinJuice has worked with a Good Brothers, and they are from Bullet Club. Well, not Bullet Club, but they have worked in Japan. But you got Bullet Club versus, well, actually they are part of Bullet Club. What am I saying? All of them were part of Bullet Club. The new members of Bullet Club with the older members of Bullet Club and the OGs of Bullet Club. It's really interesting, but there's no build for Bullet Club that is currently booked. with Hikuleo, El Phantasmo, and Chris Bay dealing with the Good Brothers. I want to see more of that. Look, 9/9 is not enough for me personally. It pisses me off. But I understand that this is what they got, this is what they're doing, this is where we're going. I'm just saying. Now, we got Brian Myers. And I didn't see BTI. I didn't see the match between him and Sam and him losing. Only thing I see is the VSK, is the Ziggy Dias. When he's in my face. When the hell is Ziggy Dias going to be about himself? If you saw him in NWA Power, he was freaking entertaining. Now, when he was on, what was it, PWN, Primetime, he really couldn't really shine himself because it was a combination of NWA and the Hollywood of Wrestling. West Coast Hollywood of Wrestling. I believe that's the name of the promotion at the time. So it was those two working together because they couldn't do anything since 2020. So much was locked down. So he really couldn't shine the way he could. But he's very entertaining. But now, Sam is going to have a match against the Brian Myers at Turning Point. Teacher versus student. And I got to say this. And when it came to Sam, he sounds so rehearsed. I'm sorry. Look, I'm not against Sam. I'm not. But when you hear the segment when he was with Rick Swan and the Willie, the Chocolate Thunder himself, he sounded so rehearsed. And he was doing too many pauses. And either he was doing that on purpose because he's supposed to still be acting like a student, or legitimately, he's not very good as a promoist. He's not good in promos. I can't tell which one it is. And that could be a good thing, because if he's supposed to be acting stupid and he's still not ready, doing that, he sounds like he's not ready. That's great. But if this is actually how he is, oh man, he needs a lot of work. So there you go with that. Now, we got several interviews. When it came to Josh as well as to Scott, because Scott said this is going to be a very interesting thing. And when he was questioned about Josh Alexander, he said, look, I'm currently running Impact. I'm trying to take care of all the wrestlers, making sure they're being done. It can be a little difficult, but then Josh comes out. See in my face. Excuse me. This is what happens when you eat too fast. You got gas. When he questioned him, said, what's going on? Why won't you return my texts or my calls? Why are you not letting me have my rematch? I've earned one. I have a rematch, don't I? He says, look, I know you earned the right to go after the title. But what's going on with Minoru Suzuki? You have you got a problem with him. So you need to deal with this guy. Next week, you and him. And after you deal with him, you can go after the main title. He doesn't say that he's going to get a match. He just said you will be focused enough that you can go after the title. He doesn't say you'll get a rematch or a title match. He just simply says, hey, deal with Suzuki. Then afterward, focus on getting your title shot. Doesn't say he has one. So let's get into the match that cracked my ass up. Caleb with a K versus Minoru Suzuki, if I'm pronouncing it right, because I could be pronouncing it like crap. But I believe it's Minoru Suzuki, if I'm doing the accent correctly. I wanted to laugh my ass off. I'm looking at Caleb like, if anyone had seen my Booking the Wrestler Impact Wrestling version, I booked a Caleb with a K and him being suicide in a way that would be incredibly interesting. And I had to think about that when I'm watching this match when Minoru basically whooped his ass. And even when he chopped him, Minoru looked at the camera, and I believe I got that shot in my face. If I don't have, I'm sorry. He's going like, is this guy serious? what did he just do? I don't feel nothing. And he tells him to hit him again, and he still don't feel nothing until he whoops his ass and ends him. It was ridiculous. I just started laughing. Now, I'm not going to say that it was not interesting to see Minoru Suzuki and hearing his music. Now, I watched anime. I've been watching anime since, understand how old I am. The earliest anime I've ever seen, earliest, for a guy of my age, was either Speed Racer, which came out 5 years before I was born, or a black and white version of Astro Boy. That is some old shit. Yes, it is. And I remember seeing Gigantor in the 1980s, the new version of Gigantor when I was a little kid. So I've always liked anime and the music that goes with it in many cases. And hearing Miru's music is actually not a bad thing. I heard it a couple of times. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it, but as I've heard it more than a few times, I like it. It's not a bad song. And Millie is long as fuck. It's a long ass song. But since the guy is, I haven't checked his MMA, I'm sure on YouTube, they got a match with him on MMA. So I'm going to check Miru Suzuki's MMA history. I want to see how he used to kill someone in the ring. If it was the octagon or just a regular square ring. If he was doing like kickboxing or something. I may actually check. But it was interesting seeing him destroy a Caleb. Now, we had DK versus the Sioux Girls. I'm just calling them Sue's girls. No, not the Sioux Girls. Sue's Girls of Kimberly and Brandy LeRae. I believe that's her name. There's no Su Yung. Is she hurt? I think she's hurt, or she's not working with the company right now because either she's hurt or her contract was not renewed, or she just left. I don't know. You guys can tell me below if she's injured. I think she's probably injured, but if she's not injured, she's not in the company right now, and I wonder where she is. But before this, you get the inspiration last week convincing Sue's girls to deal with DK for them and they would get a favor. But in the end, that didn't last very long. Now, Brandy did look interesting, briefly. And the person who looked the best there is Kimberly. She has basically immersed herself in the Su Yung Undead Bride look. Now, when you see them walking down the aisle, I believe I got a shot. If I don't, well, sorry. But when you see them, the one who looks more presentable is Kimberly. She buys into this shit. She makes herself look good. And Brandy, that still needs work. In the ring, Kimberly looks good in the ring, really good, as an undead bride. And Brandy tries. She's been trying, and she looks like she's doing pretty well. But you can tell between the two, it's Kimberly who looks better. And in the end, DK destroys them. And then you have a small segment, and I believe I got a picture of them in my face, where a Jesse's cleavage is showing very big. What happened? Did she have breast implants? Her boobs look massive. And her boobs aren't huge, but like, what the frick? But they said, you guys had one job and you ruined it. You know what? Next week, we're going to end you. We're going to teach you a lesson. We were supposed to inspire you. We didn't inspire you. You did nothing. So we are now going to end you. Now, I got to say this about the inspiration. Now, I don't know if anyone saw Rangers of Wrestling. And that's the woman that I left a connection to last week. She seems nice. She loves the inspiration. And I might leave another connection just because I'm the type of person that if you're really giving your best, just because you don't have that many fans doesn't mean that someone can't care. I don't have that many people look at me and I know it. But if more people see her, she feels good about herself and she'll work harder on her stick. So I'll probably leave a connection. If I don't, at least you'll know I may flash a name on my screen and say Rangers of Wrestling. But I'm going to say this. I was very disappointed in the inspiration when they went to Bound for Glory. I felt they went too quick with the old stick. Here, after 2 weeks, they are still using most of the original personality and attitude they developed in WWE and I believe in NXT. I think this is the characters they had somewhat in NXT, And now they're expanding on top of it with a little bit extra of what they gained from the main roster. Now, am I happy about that? Honestly, no. I would rather see them just start from scratch and not use the same stick as they were using before. It's not about the posing. The posing is not the issue for me. The inspiration pose that is doubled as the iconic, that was the only pose I got mad about. The regular posing they do is like any woman would do a pose. But that's not the thing that got me upset. It was that even if they're going to use most of the old stick, why couldn't they use the new stuff first and then build into the older stuff later after people really get to know them? Now, if Miss Ranger of Wrestling sees this, I'll say, how you doing? I might actually leave a connection saying I did mention you in the video. And I'm sure she's doing a home video right now, live streaming it. And I'm hoping it's going well. But if you've seen my other two videos about them, I'm not hating them. I don't think they're a piece of garbage like most people, like JD or Alex or maybe even Solomonster or the Sleg Daddy. I got upset with them because that they were not willing to try the new stuff first before doing the older stuff. Now, most people say, yes, do that. It's better that way. Use the older stuff because that's what people are familiar with. But we are talking about a new company with mostly new people who is on Access TV. And as I thought before, where it was an international network, it is an American network, but not very large. Not every state in the country can actually get Access TV. You got to see it online. For most states, not every state will have it on cable or satellite for that matter. So I would hope they would have done a little bit of the new stuff and then revert back to some of the older stuff and add a little more as they were developing their character in a new company. I didn't like it. So when I see them now in the second week, do I believe they're still using some of the old stuff? Of course they are. Do they feel a little different? Yes. But do they feel a lot different? No. They have a lot of work to do. I'm hoping that because this does look like the core of it is NXT. The way their personality is. It's still early. Like I said, with a grain of salt. When I said this video in the beginning, it is a grain of salt. They still look like they are using the NXT core of what they developed. And then they moved on to mostly what they developed on main roster, and now a little bit of the early new stuff they actually either came up with and they developed. Or developing, not develop, developing now. I'm not fond of it, but I do see something. But they got several months. Remember, these are tapings back to back to back. They probably taped maybe a month or two already ahead of time. Maybe a month and a half of tapings. And then they go home. And then they come back. And then they do more tapings. Hopefully the next batch of tapings will be better. If not, they're going to get their asses chewed out. Because, yes, they need time. But let's be honest. They know these are tapings. Hopefully they would throw a little bit of new stuff in. If they use the older stick, I'm just going to chew them out a little bit. Because you could be doing something a little more. I'm just saying. Now, that was a long time coming. I'm sorry. Let's move on to Rhino talking with the Heath. He's clear-minded, but he still has a poison in his heart. And he wants decay. He wants to destroy them. So at Turning Point, we're getting that. I just want to mention it because I don't know how they're going to structure it. Will it be a tag team or does he want Eric Young by himself? I don't know. You guys tell me below. We got Mercedes Martinez versus Madison Rayne. Now, this was good. I actually was very fond of it at the end. But the beginning, let's be honest, it was not that great. I've never hated Madison Rayne, Ashley Rayne. And I believe her name is Ashley Rayne. I've forgotten already. But I've always appreciated Madison Rayne. I never hated her. She doesn't have a great stick as a face at all. She's not a great face. She's a better heel. And at points, like I've always said, She can go from average to good, actually good, when there's moments. But in the beginning of this match, it was not there. It was botchy. Now, it felt like Madison Rayne started the botch, and then Mercedes tried to compensate, and then she botched a little bit herself. It was mostly half through the match did they actually start getting into it, and the chemistry started to work. For me personally, anyone else, they probably think either it was crap because they don't like Madison Rayne, and they love Mercedes Martinez, but then they can't believe Mercedes had to deal with a ham and egger like a Madison Rayne. I'm just telling you as it is. It took until near halfway into the match before it started to work properly. In the end, Mercedes won by a very deep roll up. I mean, she was laying on top of her body. I'll say this. Once Madison attacked, which felt really kind of telegraphed, it was obvious it was going to be telegraphed. But then once a Mickie James come out to drive her away, I knew that was part of the telegraph. Until you get Mercedes Martinez doing some white noise from a Sheamus onto the damn mat and whoop her ass. I like that. Instead of a face helping a face, we got a Mercedes Martinez who is as a veteran as anyone else and who obviously is better as a heel than a face. Now, that doesn't mean that she is now a heel. No, this does not mean Mercedes is a heel. This is just sending a message to one who's been in the business 20 years from another one that's been in the business at least 20 years. This is what's about to happen, your turning point. I'm not going to play with you. I respect you, baby, but in the end, I'm going to whoop your ass. I'm just saying. We got Raju versus Rocky I always mispronounce. Romero. There you go. I don't speak Spanish. I don't roll my R's, guys. Look, I may be half Spanish. But I didn't get raised in a Spanish house, baby. I got raised in a black house that had a mix of either Chinese in it and Native American in it. So I don't speak Spanish. So I don't roll my R's very well. When it came to Rocky, dealing with a Raju, and they did have their talk previously, saying, I don't like this, that you get this, you come in here, yeah, you're well known and I could respect you, but you're doing exactly like everybody else. And I've been disrespected just like you were. Always underutilized. I am underutilized and unappreciated just like you, but now you're acting just like everybody else, underutilizing me and undercutting me. You know what? I want satisfaction. So that's what this match is. And this was a damn good match. Raju's always been known to do great matches. I would have loved to see him go beyond the X Division. I'm not expecting him to win the World Heavyweight title. I'm not. But I would love to see him at least be in the world title picture and really feel like a world title player at least a couple of times, because they do need new people in the main title scene, and he would be very good in it. Now, Raj did help a little bit, but in the end, he did whoop his ass on his own. He did. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Rocky. Is he staying because he already just appeared on AEW? Now he's done Impact. Will he bounce between the two shows? And we will be seeing him over in AEW. Also, Impact Wrestling. He has an open contract that allows him to go back and forth because, as we know, AEW and Impact, even though they separated, are not going to probably limit any of their stars as long as it doesn't conflict with their days. That's what I think. Now, honestly, I got one last thing before the main event. What the hell is going on with Chelsea Green? She's in my face. She's not the hot mess. Why in the blue hell does she feel like she needs to be the hot mess when she's not? She wants to get after the DMC title, Digital Media Championship. She wants to go after Jordynne Grace. Now, supposedly, she managed to set something up with Scott to get a fatal five-way set up, because I don't remember who's in it. But she wants that damn title. She had a shot at it, and I believe it was John Skyler who interfered with it. I could be wrong. But when it comes down to it, she is not acting like the freaking hot mess that she needs to be. She needs to act freaky. She needs to act crazy. and she'll be more interesting. She's not here, and it's boring me to death that she's acting crazy in NWA, but she could act crazy here. Who says you can't use the same gimmick in both shows? I'm just saying. Last thing, number one contender for the world title. Morrissey versus Eddie versus Matt Cardona. The safe bet. That's what I put. Because that's what this was. The safe bet. This is Moose's first title defense. And instead of them giving Morrissey, instead of them giving Matt Cardona, they gave him Eddie Edwards, someone who he's highly familiar with and that the fans like. Now, do I feel happy about this? A part of me would say yes, but I am a reviewer first, and I'm trying to see this objective where they're trying to rebrand themselves as something different, not to change the name again, but to go from working with another company and basically not really having anything before the pandemic. Let's be honest. Before the pandemic, Impact Wrestling was not doing great. No matter what you say. They were not doing great with Tessa Blanchard because they did not book her correctly. And after it was over, Tessa's gone. Sami Callihan got a stick up his ass, trying to bend his ass backwards for her, and Impact Wrestling was left in a lurch. Then they threw the title on Rick Swann, who didn't even have a chance to face Sami Callihan again, but for the world title. Wouldn't you like to see Sami Callihan versus a Rick Swann for the world title? Wouldn't that have been better than Eric Young? Yeah, it would have been. But we didn't get that. They booked wrong again. Now we get who? We get Kenny. Trying to become champion, becomes champion. Then we get a Christian Cage as champion. Trying to build stuff up so the next person get it, which is Josh, who is really the right person to win the title. But the thing was, the person who should have had the title months beforehand, who should have had it instead of a Christian Cage, who I do still love, would have been Moose. And now Moose is finally champion. Moose is the head of the table of Impact Wrestling, and you can feel it from him. But then, in his first title defense, on Impact Plus, you leave Eddie. Now, mind you, if I was booking myself, I would rather not see Eddie there, but this is Moose's first title defense, and notoriously, no matter if it's Impact, AEW, or WWE, or anyone else, a first title defense usually deals with the guy who won, or girl, and someone they're familiar with. They don't always give someone new. For me personally, I would like to see someone new, because he's faced Eddie way too many times. That's just my own personal preference. But seeing it as a reviewer, it is the right deal. It's a safe bet. They're going to have a great match because Eddie knows Moose and Moose knows Eddie. 2, the fans love Eddie and they hate Moose. 3, since this is an Impact Plus show, you don't have to worry about it being a major pay-per-view like Hard to Kill. So it makes sense to do a safe bet on an Impact show that is going to be seen on Fight TV as the Impact Plus show. Do I agree? As a fan, I want something else. But as a reviewer, this is what's actually a smart move. But I hope you enjoy this. Zane's View, please give me a comment below. And I hope you enjoy when I do my Rampage. There will be no more Gump Reports this week. Watch for next week. I'll have maybe 1 or 2 Gump Reports ready for you. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.